Well, welcome back. Welcome back to another episode of the Staten Talks with your host, Johnny Davidson. And my guest, you want to introduce yourself?
Yo, what's good, my peoples? It's Jay Cuttz. I'm out here and practically just here supporting Johnny in his endeavor of in the media entertainment, practically industry of doing something, for his life and for the people around him, of course.
Of course, like always.
Exactly. And we do have some material now to speak about. We worked on a show, right,
Right.
at my TV station.
I remember you had me on your TV set. And what did you wanted to show the people that we talked about on your thing?
We practically spoke about the situation of you following your dreams and how you don't want uh, to inherit specific problems that other people have inherited due to the excessive amounts of attention that they can gain in the entertainment industry, and how you would just rather live a regular, normal life.
Right. So basically, we was talking about on your thing how people would feel on camera and off camera and how they wanted to be treated the same way as other people.
Exactly. And it makes sense because, hearing that from somebody your age, it's very humbling because you haven't gone through as much stuff as somebody that's been involved in this for longer. So for you to see things in that way, it's almost like how people say you're like an old soul. It's
Right.
like you've been here before and you've already experienced this. So you just know already what it comes with, and you would rather live a simple life.
Correct.
Exactly. So we could play some of these scenes real quick of the TV station. Ash, you could play some of these scenes and we'll be back.
On the next scene.
Exactly, after these short messages, of course. So, Ash, play that, bro. And this is a TV show that we produce. Hey everybody, it's Jay Cuttz and Johnny Davidson. What's up? We're at the Jay Cuttz TV station, aka Salva Eco Productions TV station, aka Before the People, So shouts to everybody out here. Shouts to the supporters at CTV, of course, and at Spectrum. And we're over here just making moves. This is me and Johnny's first recording and show in the Jay Cuttz TV station. And I would like to ask right now, Johnny, how did you feel being introduced into the entertainment industry, especially being that you had no prior background involved in that? And how did that change your life? Because I understand it's something huge for somebody to just practically throw you into an environment where it's something new to you as a whole. So how does that feel? Because at least a lot of people have some experience because they have done videos, or they have done drawings, or have made music, but you were just introduced to this and now you have your own TV show. So how's that for you?
All right, like you said, how I feel about it, I'm not really sure how to feel about it because that you just threw it at me that quick. I wasn't expecting that. But for being in it for a little bit of a while, it actually feels good that I set up and posted my first video. And it makes me feel good.
That's what it is, bro. And it was meant to make you feel positive. Of course, there's things in the entertainment industry that are a little bit out of pocket, of course, right? Like in a lot of things that we do in life, but it was something that was meant to inspire you at a young age, and for you to keep dreaming and to keep going and to see that, things are possible. I'm sure that you probably thought that this was kind of near impossible before you were put in a position like that, right? Like you probably thought it was so hard to get an opportunity like that. Like, who am I going to talk to? How am I even going to start this to get my own
Right.
TV show?
Honestly, like I said in the beginning, this all just came up out of nowhere. So I wasn't really expecting that. After being on the camera, now I do kind of feel like I have to hide myself a little bit since everybody knows me in the neighborhood. So if they see me on camera, then they will be like, hey, I see you on video. When's your next show?
Exactly, exactly. And people will get to know you even more as you create more shows and as you
I think you're gonna start hearing the same words over again. When's your next episode? When's your next episode? When's your next episode? So yeah, I think I get why some famous people stay in their houses or have bodyguards and all this sort of stuff because they don't want to get crushed by all these people that they don't know that love their ideas that they post online. Same thing with paparazzis. They don't want paparazzi because they taking pictures and then the paparazzi they turn into something else that's not true.
So the way you're speaking, it seems like you would rather live a more simple life without having all that attention, which is what I want as well, because that's how I feel after years of being involved in this. Imagine you, first year, and you already feel like this. That goes to show you.
When I step outside, I don't have that fear. But when I get around that corner of my own house, onto the main street or something, I'm walking around. I'm like, I hope nobody's seen my show. I'm glad they see my show, but I don't want them like coming up to me if I don't know them. And I'm that kind of person on the street. I wouldn't know you if you even though you watched my thing. Alright, you wouldn't expect me to be like, oh, you watch my shows, you're a fan? Okay. I kinda keep to myself when it's off camera and everything. I basically say you treat me as if I was a stranger on the street.
And you do know that happens a lot to famous people. That's why they live the way that they live, because they don't know what kind of intentions these people got when they walk up to them and try to even compliment them.
Yeah, because those famous people, they want to be treated basically as a stranger if they want to walk on the street. But they can't because, in Hollywood, LA, they don't walk on the streets or anything because people don't treat them as strangers. When people see them, they be like, oh my God, you're actually that person? Can I get a picture? Can I get an autograph? And yeah, now I know why all these people get bodyguards and all this other stuff. The famous people. And then you get in the nice expensive cars.
So the first TV show, right, with Jay Cuttz and
Johnny Davidson.
At Jay Cuttz TV Studios. Shouts to Spectrum, shouts to Rosemary, Hey Rose, we're over here at the Jay Cuttz TV station. We'll see you at the CTV Spectrum station soon. And, we're doing great. May God bless America, and we'll be fine.
Peace.
Peace.
Yep, that's that preview of What's Your Destiny, a show hosted by Jay Cuttz and
Johnny Davidson.
Of course. And how did you feel about that first experience and show with me at the Jay Cuttz TV station, of course?
That I wasn't even expecting that either. But when I was on it, I was like, okay, I could do this. We had a little conversation about the famous people being on camera and off camera and stuff.
Exactly. And I'm glad that you were able to experience something like that because we've worked so hard on all these projects. That show took about 2 days of nonstop, just working, editing, waking up, going to sleep, editing. And the detail that goes behind this is just extreme, especially for somebody like me that wants to make us look as great as possible,
Right.
And I'm hoping to teach you a lot of this stuff. I'm hoping that you pick up from this and are able to produce even better quality. It's not about a competition, but this is about being better than those that you learn from, because it's not that you're better than them, but they pass you the torch. So why not make something greater of your life?
Right.
Exactly, exactly. And that was a great show right there. You guys can check it out on Cuttz 11 on YouTube, and practically is our first show as a team. This is me on his show right now, Staten Island Talks, and of course the topics are Staten Island based. For that particular show, the topics are more based on life and the destiny that you're on. That's why I was asking him a lot about that particular subject, how he feels about this new path that he's on.
Yeah. And like I said, I'm grateful for you helping me out for my first show. It was sad that I couldn't have you on the first one, but at least I have you on this one today.
I got you. Things happen for a reason, and this dynamic is more personal, which is better because it gives us more room to express and to speak and to get straight down to the point. So, and whatever that I could, man, I'll be there for you, because I just feel like, that's how the circle of life functions. If I'm not there for people, especially the people that deserve it and that need it the most, then what the hell am I doing? This is my life, and I want to be of kind of a contribution to society and to the people around me.
Right.
Exactly, exactly. So, what's up, Ash? You could play that video of CEA, a new documentary show that I'm working on, and I just want people out there to know that this is for the people. This is not out of an understanding of being self-righteous, or of assuming that we can fix the whole world up with a couple of words, or just one person can do something.
You're basically telling the people out there you're just talking about life and what happens in the real world that we live in, right?
Exactly, like experiences and things that have happened in my life, and how we can learn from it and have that discernment to be able to navigate in a circumstance like that.
Right.
Exactly, exactly. So, what's up, Ash? If you could play that real quick, shout outs to all the people that made this possible. And yeah, this is the trailer for CAE.
Can't wait to see it.
Hello, my people. Welcome to another episode of CEA, show where the criminals and their agendas are exposed, because of course they are the enemy of the Americans and of the people in society that do what they can to make an honest life. And even if we came from a similar background as them, we have a basic understanding of what life is supposed to be like when we're not making bad choices. And that's what the meaning of the show is about, of course, because it's even better if you came from that specific path and you turned your life around, due to the fact that you can be a bridge and a medium of understanding for you to communicate with these people that still have to let go of that part of their lives. And that's basically what the theme of the show is about. And I want that to be of a light that spreads among the community and amongst the youth and amongst the people out here that seriously need it. Because only God can actually judge the hearts and the minds of the human beings. We only see the physical of it, and even though we can see some attributes of the human heart, when they commit the actions and the atrocities that they commit, the truth is only God knows all. So with that being said, let's start the show off real quick, and I want people here to see an eye view of what it is to be in the world of the criminal enemy agendas.
So yeah, Johnny, what's up? How do you feel about that new CEA documentary trailer?
Yeah, when you first sent it to me on my phone, I watched it and I was like, we gotta talk about this on my next show. And you show the people of what you trying to start.
Exactly, exactly. So, what was your first idea when you seen this project that I sent you? You know, how did it grab your attention? You know,
When it when you was explaining and how you started it, I was like, I can't wait to see more of it because you talking about reality and you just telling people the facts and truth about reality. And when I first saw this, I was like, I can't wait to see more of this because I like how you did the outro.
that's what it is. I appreciate it, bro. A lot of this stuff is also Staten Island based, which also goes with the theme of your show. And even though we don't, and we're not going to always talk about stuff like this, we have a basic understanding of life and of the good and of the evil that exists out here, and of how we just have to be watchful because you just never know what might be out there. You know.
Right, because when I'm always walking down the block of Staten Island or something, I'm always watching my back because I know the history, not the history, but the background a little bit of Staten Island. So I kind of just watch my back. I look over my shoulders, left to right, to make sure nobody's following me or acting suspicious.
Exactly, exactly. Would you say that being that you might have grown up, or not might have, but that you did grow up in a high crime area, right?
Right.
How was that for you, especially seeing this show and seeing that you could relate to it because of these things that you have also witnessed?
I, for me, owning, for me and my dad owning a business, we have lost a couple of customers because of that area. We had like elderlies that came over like in a van, like the service van to get their haircuts, but the program I guess that they're in, they didn't like the area, so they made them stop coming in our area because it was a crimed area, and we was not in a crimed area, but we was across the street from a crimed area.
Yeah, the block in particular isn't really high crime rate all the time, but I'll say up the block and then in that specific area, things can happen. Of course, it's safer than it was back then, but I've heard that in the early 2000s and in the 90s when you were already there, it was worse. So if we're speaking about it through that time, I could completely understand. But I had no idea that y'all went through stuff like that.
Right.
Wow, wow, exactly. So if you were to get on CEA, you would have a lot to speak about, even though I would rather keep you safe from this type of show because it's still decent and it's still truthful and it's still positive. But when you're a journalist
You
and
got
when you're speaking about topics like this, I just want you to understand that.
you have to be careful where you walk at when you're talking about these. Actually, no. When you start a journalist show or episodes and seasons, and you start walking out, you got to be careful because you're a journalist and you experienced these while you're walking outside. And when you talk more about it on your show or something, then you have to be even more careful because you don't know who's behind you or in front of you or the side of you or who's following you with something in their hand.
Yeah, in certain countries, being a journalist is actually one of the most dangerous occupations that you can have. And it's not because they're particularly bad people, it's not because you're actually doing something wrong, but it's because when you speak the truth, when you shed light on these topics, when you stand up for moral reasons, you're always going to have that resistance of evil or those demons or that badness that's out there, interfere with what you got happening because unfortunately, for them, not for us, our victory in speaking the truth and being an honest person is their loss in the form of life because they won't be able to fool or they won't be able to have unrighteous control of society or of the people in this world like they would if they keep them in fear and if they keep them in that state of intimidation.
Right. And then I think it also is that you talking about this also almost not putting your life on the line, but you're putting yourself almost in that dangerous topic because of people out there, right?
As well, of course, yeah. And I'm not even trying to front on that. That's the reason why I would be mindful of having particular people on the show, because just because I agree with the fact that there is risks involved in life, and just because I am in the position to take them doesn't mean that all people will be. So I'm understanding of that, and I'm respectful with people. And if you don't want to get involved in stuff like that, I would completely understand 100%, because at the end of the day, I feel like because I'm so selfless, it's better to kind of put myself at risk than put somebody else. I would rather keep you safer and away from the world of rap. For example, a lot of stuff happens in the world of rap. You could leave me there and you can just do your thing with pop music and stuff like that. Or in the world of being a journalist. And if you ever do decide to speak about these things, then it'll be on you. But it's not something that I pressured you to do.
Right. And as you got to know me a little bit, you know that I barely listen to the stuff that we have nowadays, like rap and all those other stuff. Journalists talking about the real world. I'll understand that, but the rap, I kind of stay away from it because now it's not just them rapping about their lives. They just arguing with other rappers. So I stayed with the old school music like Billy Joel or the 2000 musics and everything.
I got you. I got you. Rap nowadays is very out of proportion. And I believe a part of that is the fact that society is more demoralized now than they were back in the 90s or 80s. And crime rate might have been high around that time, but I'm speaking about the way people think. Being an immoral person is not always something that you can see as far as that person being in jail or being involved in the world of crime. They can just be immoral when it comes to having that principle of being an honest person with people. So they don't always have to be the worst person in the world to just have no values.
Right.
Exactly, exactly. And life is very subjective. There's a lot of things that can occur at whatever moment, and that's why we just have to be prepared for it mentally, spiritually, and in a physical way. And my objective is to help you with your dreams, but at the same time, my objective is to keep you safe from a lot of this stuff in the entertainment, world. I don't want you to necessarily get involved in all the things that I might get involved in, because what might be something that might not impact me as much might impact somebody else. Not particularly you, but somebody else. I got into a horrible crash with my bike in California. So people got into a horrible crash and they died. So we can't really compare each other. And who knows, it might really be my purpose to be out in the front lines and to stand up against all this evil out here. And I'm not saying it's not in your purpose or in their purpose, but maybe I might have to be in the front. And that's my job.
So basically, you trying to say you got to be the bigger person for the youth and show them how to actually how you should actually grow up, or what's your spot to be in, right?
Yeah, like a lot of the topics that I'm speaking about in these shows, not just in the show that has to do with crime, but in the show that has to do with life, are things that I've experienced, is stuff that I've had to go through, is a perspective that is being told from an insider, from somebody who was actually there and has gone through that blood, sweat, and tears. So I was put in a position to already deal with this stuff. Not all people were put in the same position. I'm sure you've gone through some stuff, but maybe you haven't gone through the same things as me. And so it gives me the green light to say that, I've had to go through these strong experiences. Not that you haven't, but I've had to go through a lot of these strong experiences because I'm supposed to be a soldier out in the front lines for God. And you can still be that too. But maybe my job is to be in the front lines and your job is more to be in the middle of the front lines, for example. You know,
So
I'll
you
be right
been
here and you're right here, and I'm protecting you in the battle. And no matter what happens, you're in back of me. So I'm keeping you safe.
so basically you trying to say, like you said, you trying to say is you're the one in front of me, and I gotta pay attention of what you're doing because when you're done, I'm gonna be the next one who has to do the same thing.
There could be a possibility. I'm not God to actually reveal your purpose. That will be revealed to you. But somewhere in your purpose, especially when you're working with God, there's the battle between the good and the evil. And you're going to have to stand up and you're going to have to choose a side because there is not a neutral ground in this walk of life when you're talking about God and Satan. So you're going to have to choose one. And whichever one that you choose, the sides will still have to go to some through some type of spiritual war. And it could even turn into a physical thing because demons have a tendency to possess people and to have an
Right.
influence over their actions. So there could be a huge possibility that you will be next after me. And it's not that I'm in front of you because I'm not. It's the fact that you know, I'm the leader in this
No,
particular situation.
you're just showing how life is, and this is gonna happen to you after I'm done dealing with it, right?
Yeah, as the older, more
Because you're gonna be
experienced person.
sorry, but you're
Go.
gonna be put. I'm gonna be put like in the same spot where I have to choose the good and the bad.
That will definitely happen. That can happen. That's happening right now, actually. But what I'm saying is that as the older, more experienced person, when it comes to either to combat or when it comes to the entertainment industry or just life in general, I'm put in a position to lead because of that. And then as you get to my age, you can do the same thing for a youth that would be about 11 years younger than you, 12 years younger than you. So I'm teaching you practically, or the community out here, the youth, how to pass that torch. That if somebody did this for me, I could do that for the next person, and then you could do it for the next person, and then we can create a domino effect of positivity and of soldiers that are actually going to stand up for the righteous, you know,
Right.
and that will be fair and that will have that understanding of life as a whole, you know, not just in the form of business or in the form of social interaction, but in the form of being wise and being a wise person. And it will be hard for somebody to even fall into any unfortunate events because they're already ahead of their time. So that's the beauty of me being able to show you the ropes and to put you in a position where I know you'll be all right. You know, reading body language, facial expressions, knowing how to read the room, knowing how to feel somebody's vibe could save your life. Because I felt that in this documentary, I'm speaking about how somebody did a lot of horrible things. And before I found out that he did horrible things due to what I see on the news, I read the room and I read the vibe and I knew he was doing bad things. I knew something there was wrong and I knew that this was somebody that I should stay away from. And I did. And then they, you know, ended up being caught for some horrible things, you know.
Right.
And that's just life, you know. But it's a learning experience and, you know, you're here for the ride, of course.
Yep. I'm sure I am here for the ride.
Exactly, exactly. I remember also on my show you were talking about speed cameras.
Yeah. Speed cameras. Speed cameras today, I don't like them, but I get the purpose of them, but I also don't like them generally. Like, they have their goods and bads.
I got you, I got you. You were also talking about how they're more located in the northern shore of Staten Island in
Yeah,
comparison to
where
the southern shore.
basically where the ferry side is. If you come towards the ferry side, you start noticing them. And then as you passing them, you even notice that they're putting them in front of poles. The electricity poles.
I got
And it's crazy. You don't see it until you see the box. Once you see that lower box, then you know there's a speed camera there. And then as you're going down, then there's another one that's also hidden behind the telephone pole. And then there's more being hidden behind the poles and stuff to the point where you don't even see it anymore. You just think it's a regular street until you get flashed by the camera, and you're like, where that camera came from?
I got you. I got you. And would you say it's a socioeconomic reason behind that as well? You know, it's not just like a reason that has to do with an ethnic background, but it's also the social class aspect of, you know, if they come from the bottom, they usually have to pay more taxes. They have to pay more tickets, more, fees, right, to Caesar practically. By saying Caesar, I'm saying like those that are in power at the moment in this country, you know.
Right. And the speeding cameras, I feel like they just doing too much when you have to pay for it too, and you get caught by it. Because you don't realize, because everybody drives different cars, you don't know how fast you're going. And you get flashed by it, and you got to pay like a $50 fine or something.
I got
They
you.
got you on video and your plate.
Yeah,
And then you gotta battle with them sometimes about the cameras.
I feel you. I feel you. And as a new driver, like, how would you say your experience has been? You recently got a license, which is very good. You
Me,
know,
eh,
was that
me as a new driver, I gotta thank my parents because they use Waze GPS as I showed on your episode about Waze the GPS. I actually kind of use it, and it's actually helpful. It tells you your speed limit and lets you know where speed cameras are at and cops, and it tells you traffic too.
that's dope. That's dope. That's amazing, man. And as far as like Staten Island Talks, like, where do you see this going? You know, this is your second show, you know, and the way that I see it, just like there's no limit to where you can take this. You know, it's just it all goes.
Honestly, I don't see a limit. I'm just gonna keep going and see where it takes me. I don't really, I wouldn't say I don't really care, but I want to see where it takes me. Like you said about how you helped me set up the outro and then the ending. I want to see where it could lead me to. Because I don't know, maybe a TV show or a TV station out there be like, hey, we like this person, like you told me off camera. And I'll be like, yeah, I would love that. Because if they see how my show is and they see how we're talking professionally and doing stuff all professional, then they would be like, hey, we want this person on our show or set.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, as I was saying, a network could actually pick you up. If a network is watching Johnny Davidson right now, you know, just know that it's a great kid, you know, and he has a bright future ahead of him because he's an honest person, of course, you know. And with that being said, the introduction and the introduction and the work that I've done for your show, like the logo and stuff like that, it was specifically done in mind with it being able to propel you as far as possible, you know. So I want you to know that. And took some time, of course, and it took some work and a lot of detail, but
Yeah,
it was worth it
and
at the end.
yeah, and I was grateful you actually you actually stood up all night, like all the way until like 2 a.m., right? To finish this?
A lot of the projects that I've worked on, I stood up very late, particularly for the last two shows too, 4 or 5 in the morning. So yeah, I was very
I have to
exhausted.
give you yeah, I have to give you credit for that.
It takes time, and it's also it's not physical labor, but it's like a straining thing because you got to stay in one place, sit down, and
And
actually focus on what you're doing.
yeah, and then once you set everything up, then you gotta go over it again while no, once you gotta go over the videos and then place what you want to put in it, and then you gotta rewatch the whole entire video again with those stuff placed in there. And then you have to set it all up and download it and this and that. And then make sure it's posted. And make sure it's good enough to be posted, right?
Exactly, exactly. The half an hour shows, like, imagine how many times I watched that for a half an hour to make sure everything was perfect before actually finalizing the project. And because I had to do layers of work on top of it. So, you know, it's time consuming, but if you really want something, you will do what you got to do. And this is just a product of years of being able to fix up videos and do like a lot of edits. And I want to show you this how something that started with a little camera and not too much equipment now is able to play on live TV. Now I'm able to send these shows to cable. So that shows you, like, you know, start so small, and you're faithful with that, and you're loyal with that. You know how to treat that, and
Right.
then you can take that skill and you can just practically conquer the world. So within this time, I just want you to learn from me because I'm not gonna always be in New York City. I'll be back and I'll visit and we'll be on some more shows and stuff. But at some point in time, I want you to build your own TV station like me. You have some understanding of it right now. You have some equipment for it, and all you just need is just a couple more things, and you could put your whole setup together and start something right now, and then later on, as you gain more experience and as you get more success, then you can actually get more equipment, so then you can produce shows independently, and you could also come to the station, but you'll be able to produce material now for your shows, and it shows detail, and this is how people begin to pick you up more because they're like, this person is working above the average person, and if I get them on my team, I know that they're going to be of a huge contribution to the success here, and they're going to want to have you around because of that.
Right.
Exactly, exactly. So, it's practically, yeah, I just want you to be good in life, and I want you to succeed as much as possible, and be safe throughout the avenue because a lot of people ask for the good life, but how about the health and the well being to enjoy that?
Right. In order for them, like they said, to have a good life, you got to focus on your health and well-being first. Because once you focus on that, that's when you could get up to your standards that you want to get to.
Exactly, exactly. I'm sure you heard about this. They were speaking about how Staten Island was also like an island filled with garbage, and that a lot of the mountains on the mall is actually garbage and stuff like that. How do you feel about that, especially being a topic that relates to your show that's based in Staten Island?
Well, the people who don't live in Staten Island, they shouldn't be talking because they never lived in Staten Island. It's just like if I know we do have some Staten Islanders that talk about Brooklyn, but everybody should mind their own business about other boroughs. If we're on this borough, talk about this borough only. Why start trouble with another borough that's part of New York?
Yeah, there's people that are saying what is the worst part of New York? Is it the Bronx? Is it Queens? Is it Brooklyn, Staten Island? And when people answer, they have to take in mind that people get offended over stuff like that because they live there and they feel some type of way like, oh, he's talking about the Bronx. I'm from the Bronx. He's speaking about Staten Island. I'm from Park Hill. What are you talking about?
Well, yeah. Well, the worst is the city. The city is the worst. I'm glad that we're the forgotten borough and people don't think about us. That leaves more peace for us. We don't have to deal with anything. Because when the tourists comes from like the airport, they mainly go to Times Square and all those other stuff. Nobody comes to our island unless we have something good. Then that's when we have a tourist coming on our island. But mainly for tourists to come on our island, we have like the old houses and the villages and part of our island. But that's really it. And then they go back to the city where the Big Apple is. They call it in Times Square where the TV and the spotlight is at.
Exactly, exactly. And I would rather be in Staten Island because it's more of the countryside of New York. When I just moved there, I didn't really like it too much because I'm like, I'm from Brooklyn, we're from the big borough, that's where Jay-Z's from. Some of the biggest rappers in all of hip hop are from over there. So that was the reason why, I felt so proud of actually being from there too. And it's just, there could be a lot more to do in the form where it's a bigger space and there's trains and buses and just an easier way to get around. But when I got out here, I still had to adapt to it. And then fast forward to the future when that problem with the epidemic happened in COVID, they were raiding stores in Brooklyn, in Manhattan, in the Bronx, in Queens. They were setting fires. They were
Right.
robberies. It was just like crime everywhere. That's also something I could speak about on CEA. And I recorded some scenes. I just didn't really try to record people's faces because I'm not here to, really get anybody into anything. I'm just saying a story and how people can learn from this. But yeah, Staten Island was the safe haven around that time, and then I realized the value of being in Staten Island in comparison to the whole city. We were safer from all of that. We didn't have to worry about stuff like that. There was no riots out here and stuff like that. We kept it cool, and we just looked at the whole city, and they were just burning each other down, and we're
Yeah.
over here chilling.
And yeah, in Staten Island, it's like you said, it's like the countryside. But the only thing is, it's just more roads, sidewalks, buildings, houses, and suburban areas. It's not really like the country where you see a bunch of land and all this other stuff.
There is more of that in the southern part of Staten Island. It does look more like of a redneck area, and also there's turkeys out here,
Oh my God.
and there's deer. So of course I'm going to classify that as the countryside of New York City, because where else in Manhattan or in Brooklyn or the Bronx or Queens do you really see deer and turkey and stuff like that? I can drive around in a motorcycle. I've had deer cross the street on me. If I don't go a little slower, I'm going to hit the deer. And it is dangerous for me and for the deer because, we can both get hurt. And if anything, deer, they can actually really like
Do a lot
hurt
of
people.
damage.
No, they can. They're just because they're not carnivores, it doesn't mean that a deer crashing into somebody is not fatal. That can really take their life away. And turkeys, for example, they're protected by the laws of the wildlife
But
activists, I
aren't
believe, in Staten Island.
but aren't deers protected there too?
There's laws to protect the wildlife in Staten Island, and these animals are classified as the type of animals that should be protected because they have a lot to do with the impact in the environment of the ecosystem. So they have to be.
Right. And then it's crazy enough the people on Staten Island, they don't know how to act around those animals when they're walking across the street. You get that if you go all the way to Seaview, you see a bunch of turkeys running across the street. Or some of the turkeys are smart actually. They use the crosswalk, and I'd be impressed. I'd be sitting at the red light, and I see like 2 turkeys or 3 crossing using the crosswalk. Where you have some other turkeys that just dart across the street, or they just walk slowly and waiting for you to hit them. But you can't hit them, so you have to slow down. But then you have other people that just go around them.
Yeah. Even if they didn't have laws to protect the wildlife in Staten Island, I still want to do that. Sometimes there is a pigeon that I see on the street, and it's not. I'm sure there's some kind of laws against, doing anything to an animal like that. But people can, for example, hit a pigeon or a stray cat or something like that, and it wouldn't be that much of a big deal. But I even try my best to swerve around. I've even stopped the car or the bike for a pigeon. And these are animals that aren't too protected when it comes to the laws. The turkeys are more protected, I would say, or the deer. But I just got that kind of heart, Anything that has to do with life, I'm very mindful about it.
Yeah, because one thing I learned when I go upstate, it's totally different from Staten Island and the animals from Staten Island and the animals up there. The deers over there, like when I go see my mother up there be deers literally laying on her lawn when she come from work at night, and they look at her like she's interrupting them in front of her lawn. Meanwhile, the deers down here, they not used to the city, so they darting all around to find somewhere safe.
Exactly. I mean, the story is that we actually moved into their environment. We were able to coexist with them in tribal times. And now in this modern age, it just changed because we have technology, we have vehicles, we have road signs, we got all these laws. So it's more of a touchy subject as far as they see it as an animal. Back then they would just walk through the woods. Now they have to walk through all these man-made
Streets,
streets and houses and backyards.
intersections, a lot of stuff in Staten Island that they got to walk through and try not to get hit.
Exactly. I've seen huge deer specifically by the highway in Park Hill when I went to Clove Road. Seen a huge deer one day. I was on my electric bike. This was years ago, like 5 years ago or something. But this deer was huge, like in height. The deer was like 6'5", 6'8". It had like huge, horns, and
Probably
it,
probably a
a
male
male. It was
bear.
probably a male, yeah. And it was large enough to really
Do
take
some
somebody's life
damage.
away. Oh, of course, man. That thing was a tank, man. Those things, and the reason why it's more dangerous to come into contact with an animal that's not a meat eater is because their logic is that they don't eat meat. So they're not trying to kill an animal or somebody fast. So there's more of a chance of suffering as opposed to a tiger or to an animal that's a meat eater that will go straight for the neck and then the the person passes away.
Right.
It's more of a cleaner, faster type of death than suffering because some animal is just stomping on you, and each stomp is like you feel the pain. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, and you were saying those male or female deers do a lot of damage. And some of them make it out alive in the accident. So like if you're driving down the road and the deer just comes out of nowhere, you just hitting it. And some of the deers they actually are dead from the hit and injured, or some of them get back up and walk off like nothing happened.
It's a wild animal. They could sustain impacts and they could sustain environments and colds in a way that we cannot. That's why they're classified as a wildlife animal. And I've always been big on animals. If anything, I thought about actually making a TV show with some animals. Like, look at that croc right there. Look at that. And just grab him by the neck. Go get that croc right there. Look at that anaconda. We're in Australia. It's like it just seems fun to me.
Okay, grabbing the crocodile by the hand. I see those wildlife shows. They're crazy for going out there and actually touching the animal barehanded with the neck and stuff, especially the crocodiles. Because when you touch them, they like to do that roly thing.
I
That
got
roll. I think it's crocodiles or alligators. I think it's the alligator that does that.
It's a death row. That's what they call it. They do that to kind of snap the bone out of whatever type of creature they're trying to eat. So if they grab their arm, it's a death row designed to twist that specific joint and bone out of place so they can snap it and eat it. And when somebody is grabbed by a crocodile or an alligator and they're a human, and let's just say they're a trainer, but the crocodile snapped and the crocodile rolled, the safest thing is to hold the crocodile and row with him until
Yeah,
somebody
'cause-
can help you or you can find a way to get him off of you.
But there are some wildlife people who are by themselves with camera crews, and it's just them wrestling the alligator, and they have their hands on their neck. I mean, like on the back of their neck where their head is, and then they have their two legs wrapped on their back, and they're rolling with the alligator. And I was like, they're crazy for doing all that. I wouldn't even try that because if I tried that, I would have got my hand or arm bitten off doing that.
I got you, bro. Staten Island almost sounds like a place where you'll see like an alligator or crocodile. It's not tropical here, so we're not gonna see stuff like that on Staten Island unless somebody brings it. I don't even think that's legal.
We already got snakes.
I haven't really seen snakes on Staten Island. There is? Nah, I don't think so.
But like I said, anything can happen on this island.
There's probably like a worm that they call a snake. I haven't seen anything like that. I've been at the forest
We got
jogging in Staten Island.
I'm pretty sure we do got snakes because we got pet stores with snakes in it.
I'm talking about like snakes in the natural environment and in the ecosystem of Staten Island. This is not Florida or Texas where you see it more down south.
We probably do, but it's probably in an area that we don't probably go to.
I believe snakes and animals like that survive better in tropical environments than they do in an environment that is like this. Even though crocodiles, I believe, do hibernate, alligators or crocodiles hibernate in the cold. They kind of stick their beak out of the water and they just go on an eternal sleep for that time.
Because don't forget, even though we may not have snakes, but we do have water, and there are some snakes who can swim.
they can bring a different species of an animal to another part of the world, like Staten Island, and release them.
Right.
That's what happened in Florida with, I believe it was the pythons. They started taking over. It was a hurricane actually that released them, and these pythons just messed up the whole ecosystem. They started eating
Right.
all these animals, and it just became a mess. And now Florida is paying people to hunt them down and to kill them or to catch them, I believe.
How much they pay if you catch one?
I believe it's a couple $100, but hey, I might want to sign up for that, do some side work and also help the ecosystem and the environment because of course this is our country and South Florida also has a rainforest with a lot of species to it. It's a very tropical place. That's why it's very humid over there because there's a rainforest in South Florida.
Hmm.
Exactly. And being that I drove from here, me and somebody drove from here to Staten Island, from Staten Island to South Florida. I remember, seeing a lot of things throughout that trip, and it's amazing how the U.S. as a whole just changes as you keep driving down south and you keep going.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly, exactly. But Staten Island has a lot to offer, and it was nice staying here for the time being. Of course, I'm gonna have to move forward at some point in time, but it was cool staying here for the time being. And even though stuff happens, it is fairly the safer part of New York. Even if we live in a red zone, in an area where there's more of a chance of crime, we do live in a safer place than East New York or South Bronx or somewhere in Queens.
Right.
You know.
Right. And I wish you on your journey when it starts, and I'll still be here doing the talk show of Staten Island, like always, and wish you on your luck.
Sounds great. And you have a lot of topics to speak about, man. There's just so much that you can do research on when it comes to Staten Island. For example, how they were talking about in Park Hill, it used to be inhabited by lawyers and doctors. That's what they said, like very long ago. This is not even in the 80s or the 70s. I heard this was like almost like in the 1800s or the beginning of the 1900s. Like it was very upper class.
Yeah, because when you watch those movies that they make in the like around the 1900s or something, they got the old cars with they got the classic cars, jukeboxes, and all those other stuff like Back to the Future. I would actually love one of those cars. I actually kind of like the classic cars. I don't like the newer cars today.
I got you. I seen a variation of something like that in Manhattan. This guy was charging people to take pictures and film scenes with his car. I think I paid him like $20 for like
Couple
2 minutes, like 2-3 minutes. He's making money. He almost looked like the guy in the movie with the messy hair, old white guy. But it was a cool experience. I got some scenes and it came out fire.
Right.
Exactly. And yeah, this is Staten Island Talks, my people, and we speak about Staten Island based topics, of course, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was saying. And is there anything you want to say specifically about Staten Island that, would practically put that cherry on top for the show right now,
All I know is not really sure. But I wish the people out there who live in New York, in Staten Island, luck.
Exactly. And you should, man, because at the end of the day, we keep this the way that it's going. Like, it happens to be a fairly decent place in comparison to a lot of parts of the U.S. And it's because of the people that they come together and they work as a unit, in order to ensure that our island stays safer than the remaining of the city or of the U.S., because there's a lot of dangerous places in the U.S. So we should be fortunate that we come from a safer part of town, even if for people that aren't from our area in Park Hill, maybe they think it's the worst, but no, when you really travel to all over the U.S., you realize that, this is nothing in comparison to what you can find out there. There's real serious danger out there. This is just a very small view of it, and it can be big, but fortunately, it hasn't been like that for us. Even though we've gone through things.
Right.
Exactly, and that's just what it is. You know what I mean? That's just a lot to talk about. And as far as Staten Island, right? How do you feel about the girls on Staten Island?
Honestly, these days they was okay, but now the the generation that growing up now, they just getting out of hand with how they dress or anything. Don't have to dress all like that just to get a man's attention. Just dress like a normal person and be you. Don't have to draw a fight or draw hands just to impress a person. You know what I mean?
I got you. I got you. My experience with Staten Island females is that you know, they can be involved in trends. When it was popular to, for example, do drugs, I've seen them join people right in that. Not everybody, but like I said, it's just like there was certain trends on Staten Island where it's like the trend was negative, it was whack, but because everybody was doing it out here, people were like, all right, like yeah, it's cool,
All
yeah,
right.
but it's not.
And there's some girls like ladies who really know how to drink.
That too, yeah, of course. You see it all out here. The good, the bad, the positive. But I hope that you find a very attractive girl in Staten Island. If there's any nice, beautiful females in Staten Island, holla at my boy Johnny. He's a decent man before he actually goes viral. And Ash, we could play the introduction now of the show, and I'm gonna let Johnny speak some words before we go out.
Right? And I guess for my next show, I guess we're going to talk about the, I guess, easy passes and fair pays of how Island works.
Sounds good, bro.